I got this message from Kalora on SoundCloud and it reads, I was the first listener of your Out of Love track on YouTube and I've been playing it a couple of times. I was already contemplating how to create a trancey, acidy synth in a track that I'm currently working on. Care to show how you made that sound in Serum and how you processed it? Darn tootin' I can. So the first thing we need is a sequence to play with, and I've loaded a simple sequence up here that you can see. I'm gonna stick that on the simple Serum. So this is just the standard default sound you get with Serum. And that sounds pretty awful, right? So we're going to improve on that. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to change the waveform. So we're going to put this one here and we're going to change the WT position right the way over to, what's that, 256. Change the unison up to 16, all the way up to the top. Loads of unison. And then we're going to detune that slightly to about 0.6, I think. Maybe less. Let's go for 0.4. Looks a bit much to me. There we go. And we're just going to copy that over to the second oscillator. There we go. Next thing we need to do is add the sub. And we're going to use this shape here, fourth one. We're going to pitch it down an octave. And I'm going to change the level right down actually to about 40%. Now we're going to add a filter. I'm going to go for a low 24 I think here. Make sure it gets applied to everything. No key tracking needed on this. And we're going to bring the resonance down to 0 whilst we're here. The cutoff we're going to alter. If we bring LFO1 down to about a quarter of its level here, and we're going to change that to the rate to a bar. And similarly, for the LFO2, we're going to change that down to a quarter in the middle here. And the rate is going to be 2 bar. Where's that? There we go. LF2, we're going to apply to the phase on the second oscillator. LF1, we're going to apply to the phase on the first oscillator. There we go. Now we're going to adjust the envelopes. So the first one, going to bring down the decay to about 290, I guess. I'll do, and going to bring the sustain all the way down to about 17 decibels. I'll do. From the release, we're going to bring up to about 700. 700 milliseconds. Envelope 2, we're going to give that, it's going to be the same attack and hold. We're going to give it a similar decay, just slightly less, about 247, 250. The sustain we're going to bring right down to about 4%. That'll do. And the release to about 340 milliseconds. I just find this so tricky because I'm using my trackpad. And then we're going to apply that envelope to the cutoff on this filter. There we go. But we're going to bring the range of that cutoff down to about 40, the width. There we go. Let's bring the drive up to about 25%. Now we need to apply some effects to Serum itself. So the effects we're going to use. So to begin with, we're going to use Hyper. And we're going to leave the rate as it is, detune it right the way up to about 94%. I'm quite particular about these measurements here. Unison just up a notch to 6. Mix is going to be 100% mix. Next we're going to add some chorus. And we're just going to leave all the settings as they are, but bring the mix down to about 18%. There we go. Now we need to EQ. So the EQ is, we're going to pick up around 750 Hertz. The Q will set to 33% there on the Q. And then the gain we'll just give it a bit of gain, about 5 decibels. The curve we're going to use here is that sort of blip in the middle. Leave the second one as it is, but that frequency we're going to go all the way up to about 7,000. But the Q will bring to 38%, and then the gain, quite a lot of gain on this, so about 17 decibels. We're going to add in a reverb. We're going to put the reverb after the EQ. And we're going to change it to a plate. Now the size of that plate, we're going to bring it up to about 39%. The pre-delay time is right down, it's like 1 millisecond. The low cut is 17%. The high cut is 43%. The damp is 25%. The width is 20%. That's as it is, actually. And then the mix, we're going to have 31% mix on this. And that should be it. So that sounds like this. Starting to sound like something, but not quite there, because what we need is a reverb and delay rack. And for that, we'll go to my user library. I've got one prepared here. So I'm not going to go through this in a huge amount of detail, but you'll be able to see that I use a rack essentially to apply lots of different effects. So let me close those out. So first you have your dry chain coming through. Next I have an echo. So let's just play this actually. Dry. That's dry. I had a very, very subtle echo. And you can see I've tuned that down. I've turned it down. The level on it's turned down quite a bit. Just a subtle effect there. Well, actually, you can hear more of it as it finishes. So I've got quite a prominent delay on this, and it's synced to 1 beat. Next, we've got just a short reverb, actually. So it's very subtle again. You can barely tell it's there, but that's the trick. If we turn it all on, that sounds like this. I've got some compression on that echo just so you don't hear it continuously, you only hear it when the noise stops. Next, I've added stereo widening. This is my own stereo widening effect, but it's essentially the Haas effect. So the principle here is that you delay the left and right channels. So I've got an EQ on it as well. But it will delay the left channel by 20 milliseconds. Just scroll over. And then the right channel, I've checked. I need to change this. So the left channel, we're going to delay by 20 milliseconds. And then the right channel, we're going to delay by 40 milliseconds. And that gives you a really lovely widening effect. I'm just going to play without, and then whilst it's playing, switch it on. So you hear the width coming in. And all you need to do now is automate the cutoff to get those real sort of trancey vibes to it. There you go. And that's how you create a trancey acidy synth in Serum.